the Lekker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction with Harry Jones, only on Megafoon Rugby.
Welcome back to the Lekker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction. I managed to convince Harry to come on and give us a bit of an instant reaction. I mean, this is a game, an epic game. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, once again, the Sharks flattered to deceive. Tell me about what did you think of this game?
Listen, it's exactly what the season's all about for the Sharks. It's the magical mystery tour of the Sharks, the long and winding road. And nothing makes sense. So no one should say things like, so now they're tired out, they go to the Highveld, lose. Who knows? They tried really hard to lose this one, turning down a 70% shot at goal in favor of a 25% maybe, scrappy drop goal attempt, and then having to make a lot of basically shots at goal and having to bring on 22-year-old Bradley Davids to finish the job and send Jack and the Beanstalk home to suck on his thumb and cry and wait for another day. It was beautiful and fitting that it was at Durban where Crawley broke our hearts. Now we see Jack Crawley crying when Jaden Hendrikse gave him a wink and a nod from the turf as he lay down in agony, crying with an injury you cannot check one way or the other. So there's no way for there to be cramp gate later. And also excruciating agony acting by Jaden, clutching the calf of the physio himself every time they tried to shunt him off and move him off the tracks. He's like, nope, I'm going to stay right here and make Jack think about it just a little bit longer. In your head. Oh, I won't sing that. But in reality, this game was the best of the quarterfinals for the drama. It wasn't the best maybe in the quality of the execution. Who knows? It was just a great thing to watch. None of it made sense. By the end, you had Neil coming out with a pre-printed color chart of the kick, shootout, as if he actually knew what he was doing and plotting the angles. It was like, this is the first time in the whole match that the Sharks coaches look prepared, and it's for the actual shootout, almost like that's what they wanted. There was a lot of cramping going on as well by Ty Byrne, lest we only think about Jaden Hendrikse. So there was some gamesmanship on both sides, prolonging time and avoiding scrums. And these are savvy operators, a lot of test internationals on both sides. And early on, it was clear to Munster that they wouldn't die in the scrums. So they just tried everything they could do with breakfoot, emergency breakfoot, slipping out of the gears, rolling around, getting therapy. They tried to avoid the scrums. In the end, the scrums did find them. However, the Sharks could never pull together more than about 3 phases because then Ty Byrne and his long octopus arms and his friends would pilfer it. So first half ended, the Sharks had lost the ball or turned it over 16 times. I think the Bulls go about 3 matches doing that. They lost the aerials 1-4, which is kind of hard to do when you have Fassi in the team. And the Sharks only kicked for 167 meters in a slippery soap bar in the shower kind of game. Munster, smart, kicked 447 meters. So it looked like the Sharks didn't know each other. Like they had just met, even though they were brothers in some cases. So it didn't make any sense to put together movements because the last pass was always at someone's knees or shins or behind them. Up 7-0, this beautiful cross kick by Jack Crowley early in the match. It did look a bit like, oof, Munster came to play. But that was kind of all they had for a while. And there were storming performances by Ethan Hooker, who must have played his way into the hearts and minds of most people doing their fake box selections. But we never know about Team Rassie. But he's a useful, versatile guy because he's big enough to handle any kind of combat, but he's also quick enough and quick-witted enough maybe to make good decisions. I felt like on the day he looked a lot better than Lucanio Arm, for example. Vincent Koch in the scrums was a man. And then we had Makazole Mapimpi, who's just, I like angry Mapimpi phase. I think we're in the angry phase of Mapimpi. Everything is angry. I like it. It's combative. And so, he had some storming runs. But again, no one could finish anything off. So at scrum at 39 minutes, it felt like that's the Sharks' best hope, for some structured play to get into this, but then Fassi kicked it away. Fassi made 3 really big errors in the first half. One, he tried to rescue a kick for no apparent reason. It was going out anyway. It was going to be in Munster territory, but he tried to get it and he was called out. So then it was their line out. did the same thing in Sharks territory. And then again, hot on the attack, he kept persisting with bad grubbers. Second off, it was Sharks trying to mysteriously follow my directions that I sent the WhatsApp group, even though I have no ins in the Sharks except for maybe brand and marketing. So no one was listening to my advice. But I said, make Munster kick back to you, form kick returns using Fassi and Fenter and even Etzebeth. Like, there's just a way you can form some nice attack battalions and at least play in their territory. And so for a while that looked good. There was a beautiful offload from Eben to Fenter to Chuka to Hooker, who took it to the house and really had a lot of work to do to finish that try. It was a really beautiful try. At 50 minutes, that first 10 minutes was the best and brightest of the Sharks' structured play. Then it was just scrum penalties, setting up attacks, and sustained pressure and kind of getting nowhere. There was a penalty at 10-7, the benches cleared, and so not knowing there would be 100 minutes of rugby, the benches actually changed at 50 to 55 minutes. So then you had people playing a lot more minutes as a bench player than the starters. Question, should the Sharks have gone for a try when the score was 7-0 and they had a penalty upon advantage, upon penalty, deep, and they could have had a 5-meter scrum, maybe got a penalty try, and gone up at that point 14-7. Well, we don't know, but what happened next was Munster went, scored a try off a quick ruck and good lines at 58 minutes. And 61 minutes, there was a slip by my Pimpy. Not his fault, it happens. And then a grubber try. And then you're looking at 10-21, and the Shark Tank was very glum. And so everyone on a Joel sat down and just sort of munched on food and looked kind of sad. But then there was brightness. Fassi from a penalty advantage goes over at 17-21. And then quick line out, Fenter to Andre, who was gain line all night, but didn't have a lot of help. And there was quick ball try. So at that point, at 24-21, you thought, this is actually back in the good side. Then Connor Murray, who we'll call Clutch Murray, drills one from 47 meters out. And then there's one final scrum, which Jack is happy to kick out. So now you're 24 all. Everyone goes back to the bench and decides, what is this thing? How does it work? 10-10, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Is it golden point? No, you actually play out the 20 minutes. And we heard Peter Omani in his final rabble-rousing speech to the team, to keep me playing one more game, guys. I want to go to Loftus and try to knock the Bulls out. Pete said, keep pressure on their 9, keep pressure on their 10, and stay in the fucking fight. Everyone seemed really riled up and galvanized, but then they went on the field and they were too tired to do any of that stuff. So there was just poor exits. There was, all kinds of scrums and turn down a shot from, like I said, from a line out. And the Sharks could have just, probably ended it there. They didn't know that. But tight head scrum wins, very rare and amazing nowadays. Charge downs, that first 10 minutes seemed to go really slowly, and both sides looked exceptionally nervous. The second 10 went really quickly. You looked up and it was 4 minutes, then it was 6, then it was 9, then it was done. There was a drop, there was a really big scrum, and there was a line out on the 32-meter line of Munster. But carries too high and soaked up pilfers, and then basically turned into a territory cage fight. And Jaden then was happy to kick out himself. Then we went into this very cool and mystical shootout where you had Bradley Davids, who had been subbed on with a few minutes to go for Mapimpi. And so he was obviously the kicker to be brought in. And you had the brothers Hendrikse, who, to be fair, both of them flushed their kicks so beautifully right down the middle, including Jordan from the most difficult angle, nice and high and clean, no nerves, eyes fixed on the target. He picked out his guy in the stands, on row H, and he just put the ball right in his lap. Didn't have to even drop his beer. But it was up to Bradley Davids once Munster had shanked. And then Jack had been put off his game by Jaden's theatrical performance. It was up to the young man to make it. So cry all you want, Munster. But if Bradley, the 22-year-old who'd been on the field for just a few minutes and has such a sketchy background profile, as I was looking up before I did this, there's nothing there. I don't even know that much about the kid. He had to nail something that was probably going to be for the rest of his life. For the rest of his life, he will remember stepping up with that extremely horizontal walk up. The way he picks his kicks is very interesting. And then he just put it over to send the Shark Tank into raptures. Slammed his kicking tee down, gave the same wolf-like scream, primeval howl, sort of bookending Jack Crowley's profanity-laden shout at the Sharks kicking coach. And it was highly emotional. There's going to be a lot about this for weeks, for years. There might be even a song invented in Limerick about this. And it will be perceived grievance and extreme unfairness for sure. But it's all fun and games, you know. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So the game affords you this kind of ability to ice someone. I saw plenty of icing going on, by the way. It was much more low key. Conor Murray was trying to ice Bradley Davids, which might have worked if Bradley Davids was so young to be his son. Maybe Davids didn't even know who he was. But you know, they definitely came over and did the hug talk, you know. And probably Bradley was thinking, stop talking to me, old man, uncle. You know, I'm just trying to get ready for my kick here. So everybody was doing what they wanted to do. Ty Byrne was trying to reverse a scrum position call and say, no, it was the first scrum, not the second scrum, which is the flat out lie. So there was plenty of fun and games going on. Both teams went fully into a dark place, which is where you go at 100 minutes. You're breathing, you don't have any air, you're in a shootout in a sauna. Good job, Sharks. You made it 2 out of 3 for the weekend and solved a bit of the wounds of our Stormers, like our coastal friends. And what awaits you is an incredible, wonderful holiday weekend in Pretoria, where you will have even less oxygen and altitude, and you will not be able to reap and harvest scrum penalties the way you just did. So take that out of your arsenal. Where are you going? No, to be honest, the Sharks are an awkward opponent for the Bulls. They tend to be. History doesn't lie about that. My postulate is that it's because the Sharks do the one or two things that every other team doesn't do well, which the Bulls capitalize on. And so against the Sharks, that's not available. Even though the Sharks won't win a lot of scrum penalties, I don't think the Bulls will win a lot of scrum penalties. So when you take that out of the equation, or when you try to kick on Fassi and you run up and try to take the ball away from him, doesn't work very well. If you run hard at Mapimpi, there's only one way that turns out. The Bulls locks will look at Ibn Etzebeth as an icon, a leader, someone they aspire to being. There's just a lot of things there that don't really feed into the Bulls' mystique. Just a shout out also for James Fenter, the young loose forward. I thought he played very well. He might, should have been about dark horse in our series with Andre Pretorius. But no, this is the kind of game that inspires lots of chatter. It'll be thoroughly debated and discussed online in social media and in traditional media. And everyone's going to have an opinion about how to make the kickoff better, the shootout better. I quite liked it. I thought it was fun and games. And I don't mind a bit of shit talk to each other. I mean, as long as no one says something too terrible, questions at origin and ancestors, as long as you're just having some good fun with a cramp in your leg, I say all's fair in love and war.
I just got the WhatsApp now from the Bulls. Next Saturday, 2:45 South African time. Kickoff Leinster versus Glasgow, and 5:15 5:15 South African time. The Bulls and the Sharks. So once again, fairly late now. That's going to be interesting. And the one thing you said there a couple of times is slip. Mapimpi slipped and the ball was slippery and was like a bar of soap and everything else. Wonder what it's going to be like up here. And you said, maybe the 100 minutes, with the Sharks being as unpredictable as they are, it's not going to make, but it does have to make a difference. I mean, that was a tough game. It's just not a league game that went a bit longer. It was a tough, physical, demanding game. Maybe it galvanizes him. Maybe it tires him out. Just be honest. What do you expect there?
If I had to pick, being the Bulls or being the Sharks on physio and strength and conditioning, I would pick being the Bulls. Yeah, for sure. The Ibn Etzebeth's eye looked like, in 2 days is going to be a lot worse. They might have broken something in there. Who knows? But I definitely you would you would think, just like in every tournament when there's fine margins, it doesn't take more than about 2 or 3%. Good rest, food, lactic acid, dehydration, sure, all of that. What I'm saying is none of that seems to have mattered in the Sharks system season so far, good or bad. The things that should be bad are good. The things that are good should be bad. It doesn't make any sense. It's literally a bizarre season where people that are Sharks fans are more upset with them this season when they're doing much better than they were a year ago, when they were like, oh, we're still trying to learn who each other are. And now with the Sharks not losing very much, they have a knack of winning ugly. And winning ugly is a skill unto its own, and it is an underrated skill in knockouts.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Jake said the same thing today. The Bulls learned to win the tough games.
Yeah,
And that's something that's come with experience now. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually a little worried, to be honest, as a Bulls supporter. Like I said, this is the one team I didn't want to face in the semi-final. I'd rather have taken on any of the others. Just briefly, what did you think of Leinster's performance against the Scarlets?
I didn't see a lot of that because I took that one off. There was a lot of rugby for one day. And then someone from Ireland alerted me and said, oh, that's closer than it was supposed to be. So I haven't watched it enough, so I don't want to blame Leinster, but it does seem like Leinster might drop in the Harry Index. They seem to be fading. They're limping into the finish.
I'd love to see the Harry Index coming out tomorrow, Sunday. I want to see where my Bulls end up.
A lot of things have happened at the Harry Index this weekend. I have to check the Prem too. That's a lot of stuff going on over there. Yeah, there was a lot of things happening in Super Rugby. It's definitely one of those days where you go, are you as good as I thought you were? Or another teams, you're like, all right, Glasgow, maybe you're back.
I need to detox a bit. I'm going to watch a bit of Formula One tomorrow just to get all this rugby out of my mind for a bit. Gee, that was a lot. All right, Harry, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Talk to you tomorrow.
Cheers.